With the first full trailer for Avengers Doomsday, you might be wondering what exactly is Infinity Vision. One thing is clear though, and that is that Marvel seems like it's still desperately trying to convince people on why Doomsday should be a really big deal. But with so much of the conversation being dominated by films like The Odyssey or Dune Part 3, I can't help but feel like Marvel is continuing to fall behind. And so that begs the question, is Infinity Vision Marvel's answer to compete with filmmakers like Christopher Nolan or Denis Villeneuve? Well, let's get into it. And so to boil it down, Infinity Vision is a certification that a theater can earn to, in Marvel's words, signal to audiences that they are providing a superior viewing experience. And this is all based on the screen, the sound, and the projection. And so no, Infinity Vision is not a new format or technology like something like IMAX or a Dolby Cinema, but essentially a set of unified standards for a premium viewing experience. And so it's honestly not a bad idea to try and promote a more universal set of standards, because as any regular theater goer can tell you, viewing experiences are pretty inconsistent, especially if you are not near a big city or your regular theater is not part of a big chain. And so honestly, that is commendable in theory. However, in reality, this is all kind of pointless. And that is because Marvel are targeting premium large format theaters with this new Infinity Vision push. And those premium large formats vary from theater to theater, but they include things like Dolby Cinema, RPX at Regal, Cinemark XD, and so on. And so after doing some research, almost all the theaters in my local area qualified for Infinity Vision. But to specify, it's really specific screens and auditoriums that can qualify. And I noticed some that I've had previously poor experiences where something like the sound has been blown out or some speakers didn't work altogether. And so although there have been no Infinity Vision screenings as of yet, that just makes me kind of skeptical of this whole thing. I mean, it's not like any theaters are really going to be upgraded specifically for this, but there's also no indication that Marvel is going to improve the sound or visual quality of their films, which at this point is kind of lackluster. But the good news is that it does not seem like Infinity Vision is going to increase the price of movie tickets. It seems like an Infinity Vision certified film is not going to be any more expensive than a different film on the same screen, although Disney is kind of leaving it up to the theater's discretion. And so to be honest, Infinity Vision is really just a marketing ploy that doesn't change anything, but rather Marvel's attempt to dominate premium large format screens since they have lost access to IMAX. And so I think some people will be surprised to hear that Spider-Man Brand New Day and Avengers Doomsday will not be releasing in IMAX. And that is due to the fact that Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey and Denis Villeneuve's Dune Part 3 have secured an exclusive IMAX window. And so that means the day that Avengers Doomsday is released, Dune Part 3 will be dominating all IMAX screens. And that is an issue for Marvel because they are really reliant on these premium large format theaters to drive up their box office numbers, which is the case for every studio at this point. They're all reliant on these PLFs, as they call them, to make that extra money. Look at so much of the conversation happening right now, and it's all about Nolan and IMAX 70mm and kind of seeing the Odyssey in the way that Nolan intended. But that is really the fundamental difference, is that Nolan crafts this entire experience around IMAX. I mean, everything from shooting on film to utilizing the entire expanded aspect ratio of IMAX are really what makes his films feel like such an event. And we have honestly been getting so many incredible IMAX movies with Dune Part 2, the recent Project Hail Mary, even F1 and Top Gun Maverick, with all of these films being universally praised for things like their commitment to practical effects, their stunning visual quality, or their cutting-edge sound design. On top of that, Project Hail Mary and The Odyssey are the current Oscar frontrunners for things like Best Performance, Best Cinematography, Best Visual Effects. I guess my point with that being that these blockbusters are actually being treated like great films, being loved by both audiences and critics, none of which you can really say about Marvel movies. And so that, in all honesty, is what makes Infinity Vision kind of pointless, because quite frankly, their films will not take advantage of a premium format. And so something like Infinity Vision is really just them trying to slap a band-aid on what I think is their biggest problem, which is the way that they make their movies. I know that's a very general critique, but let me explain. Marvel Marvel and Disney as a whole at this point are notorious for their uniformly poor production quality. And so I'm really talking about everything from their overuse of CGI and green screen to their usually terrible sound design. But this is why Marvel films in theaters kind of feel closer to something like Disney Plus than they do to something like The Odyssey. And so to be fair, Marvel was on a pretty good streak up until this point with things like Thunderbolts and Fantastic Four and Brand New Day up next. Like, these films all felt like they were trying to up their game a little bit at least. But then you have films like the last Captain America and this new trailer for Doomsday, which don't seem very promising. I mean, when I see these shots, my first question is how many of these people were even on the same stage together? How many of them were keyed in? It's pretty damning that people think this looks like something made by AI. But really where Marvel drops the ball the most, and what I think is so important to film, is the sound design. I remember even as far back as seeing the first Guardians of the Galaxy in 2014, being severely underwhelmed by the sound in their films. Sound design is just so important to our immersion in a story and a world, even on a subconscious level, more than people realize. And I think a prime example of my point is a film like Furiosa, which did not shy away from CGI and blue screen when necessary, but combined that with a very strong foundation of practical effects that allowed George Miller and his team not to be overly reliant on CGI, but to utilize it in a way that enhanced their world building. But on top of that, Furiosa had a mind-blowing Dolby Atmos mix, and I think still like my favorite sound design I've ever heard in a film. And so I just continue to be disappointed by Marvel's lack of attention to detail. I really think they underestimate how important their sound design is. And so I don't mean to hate on any of the artists that work on Marvel films. I know that they just truly are trying to make the best product possible, and that they try to put as much TLC into these movies as they can, but rather they are not given the time or the tools to make the end result what it should be. There is an excellent article on Vulture from a few years ago where an anonymous visual effects artist went into detail on the production and the seemingly awful working conditions, where they mentioned something like working overtime 7 days a week for months on end, while usually being understaffed, which means they are doing the jobs of multiple people. And the fact that Marvel is so big means that they can leverage their power in the industry to go with a visual effects house that will do the job for the lowest amount and shortest deadline possible, because if anyone were to refuse, Marvel can just go to someone else. And so last minute changes on top of rewrites on top of short deadlines is why we end up getting something that looks like AI. And I don't necessarily have any confidence that Marvel has learned from this, because the scenes from Brand New Day and Doomsday have still been changing from trailer to trailer. I mean, it's insane to me that the live action Moana and the Odyssey had the same budget, and look at the difference. And so with the combination of ballooning budgets and declining box office numbers, the Marvel bubble is not long for this world. And what's the point of getting great artists if you're not gonna let them do great work? And so to me, Marvel is just feeling more like a machine than ever. And I think audiences are just done with the bottom line being prioritized over the artistry. And so that's why a lot of Marvel movies for me have just been a non-starter nowadays. I mean, the reason that people are so head over heels over the Odyssey is because of the craft in the filmmaking. People just want to see something new, something that feels real and original. And it's funny that I say that because the Odyssey is of course a 3,000-year-old poem, but it is told in a way that feels fresh, has edge, and is being told on a scale that we haven't seen before. Whereas Doomsday kind of just feels as disposable as ever. And so is Infinity Vision going to make any difference for one of their films when the films continue to have rushed visual effects, muddy color grading, and forgettable sound design? It's safe to say that no, Infinity Vision will not make any difference. Infinity Vision might not even exist past Doomsday. I mean, it's clear Marvel are only doing this because they lost out on IMAX, therefore less money. And if they really want people to care about their films going forward, they need to start at square one. If they want people to go on their Odyssey, they need to build a better ship. And so that is all that I have for Infinity Vision, and I really didn't mean to come off as like bitter or, hateful against Marvel. I just wanted to be honest about this situation, and trust me, like Marvel Marvel are the last people on Earth that need to be made excuses for. And I do promise though, like if Infinity Vision is a game changer, if it really does make a difference going forward, I will come back here and talk about it and let you guys know I was completely wrong. But what are your thoughts on Infinity Vision and Doomsday? Let me know if you have any disagreements, you know, we can talk about it. But thank you for watching. Please, if you enjoyed this, hit that like and subscribe. We got a lot of movies coming out this year, and you know, we're always fighting against the algorithms, so thank you if you did subscribe. But until then, I will see you guys in the next one.